Welcome to another edition of Cooking at Home with the Caprios. I hope all of you and your loved ones and friends are staying safe and healthy. I also hope that as we move toward opening our communities, that you are making smart choices, not only to protect you, but to protect your friends and families and neighbors. As the Dalai Lama once said, our prime purpose in life is to help others, and if you can't help them, don't hurt them. I agree. However, now we're going on to the food. Today, we will be making one of the most basic, but also one of the most delicious pastas on the planet, Cacio e Pepe. Simply translated, that means cheese and pepper. Just add the pasta, and you have the three main ingredients for a dish that has been the staple of Roman cuisine for centuries. This is the original comfort food. Now, as always, assisting me and occasionally annoying me in the kitchen is my son, David. Dave.
Thanks, Dad. You'll be happy to know that I did not bring my fun food fact bell today.
Thank God you've answered my prayers.
Actually, my prayers have been answered too doing this dish. I love Cacio e Pepe. I think everybody out there will love it too. I remember having it at this little restaurant in the Trastevere section of Rome called the Antico Cafe del Morto. I was with my good friend Richard Rapetti. You remember Richard?
Richard Rapetti from the Bronx, New York.
Great guy. Richard and I were in Rome, and long day of travel, we found this little spot. We ordered Cacio e Pepe. So delicious, so delicious. And then I realized that it was on every menu of every restaurant we went to throughout the whole vacation. It really is a staple dish in Rome. I liked it so much, a few years later when we went back to Rome, it's the first place I took you and Mom. Remember that?
I remember it well. It was a great day.
Now, this is a really simple dish. It's got a handful of ingredients. Less is more with this dish. So you won't have to take notes. Recipe will be posted in the comment section below, and let's get to it. What we're doing today is portioned for 2 people. So here's the ingredients. A half pound of pasta, a cup and a half of finely grated Pecorino Romano cheese, 1.5 tablespoons of freshly ground pepper, 3 tablespoons of unsalted butter, and some coarse kosher salt. And that's it. Can't get more simple than that.
The one thing I know for sure about Cacio e Pepe is that there are about 1 million different recipes for this simple dish. In my neighborhood, the Federal Hills section of Providence, which was the Little Italy section, everybody had a different recipe. The lady on the first floor came from Calabria. My mother said her recipe wasn't good. The lady across the street, she came from Bologna. She had a different recipe. The other lady, she came from Messina. She had a different recipe. My mother's was the best, in my opinion, right? So feel free to add your own personal twist to this recipe. Now, the first step is to boil the pasta. Cacio e Pepe requires a long, smooth noodle that's hearty and thick. So we're using bucatini, which I think is the best because my mother used it. But you may use something easier for you, like spaghetti or linguine. Whatever you want to use works for you, you use it. David, you do the honors.
Of course, be happy to. Now, you don't want to use too much water in the pan when you're cooking Cacio e Pepe, when you're boiling the pasta. We use about 2 quarts. That's because the pasta water is going to become a key ingredient in the sauce later on. So we want that water to be thick and we want that water to be starchy. So give it a second to soften up a little bit. And we'll get the pasta right in. Now we also want to add a generous amount of salt to the boiling water. We use kosher salt. It's coarse and it doesn't have iodine in it, so it actually tastes better than your normal table salt.
Okay, now remember, it's important not to overcook the pasta. You need to take it out of the water about 2 or 3 minutes before they recommend on the side of the package, because they will continue to cook, right, as you add it in the sauce. The next step is to prepare the pepper. Now, I will admit, my mother never took this next step. She just added freshly ground pepper to the dish, and you can too. But my son David has added a new twist that I love, and I think you'll love it too.
Just slide over if you would. I need to get to the pan. I love pepper also. Pepper is the basic spice of the world. It brings the most flavor to the most dishes of any culture in the world. So if you only need one spice in your kitchen, pepper is the one. Now I like to use Telecherry peppercorns. They're a little bit bigger, they're left on the vine a little bit longer, brings more flavor to the peppercorn. What we're going to do is we're going to pour them right in a medium hot skillet, a dry skillet, and we're going to toast them. Now toasting, you want to move it around a little bit. Now toasting these, roasting these and toasting them, like many other things like coffee and whatnot, it helps bring out the real earthiness and the real flavor of the peppercorns. You want to keep them moving, you don't want to burn them. Shake it up, and this way they won't burn. You really want to bring out that earthy flavor.
How do you know when they're done?
We know they're done when they start doing a little dance. They'll jump around the pan, a little cha-cha-cha, a little one-step, two-step. When that is, lower the heat, take them off, and because you don't want them to burn, as I said. And there they are. You can see them start to dance now.
I can see the cha-cha.
So these are done. Let's take them off the heat, and let's pour them right into the mortar. Now, some people like to put these in the pepper grinder. Most people have one at home. I like to do something a little different. I like to use an old-fashioned mortar and pestle. These date back actually to historic times, prehistoric times, originally used for food. Most people identify these with pharmacists making medicines, but it was originally a tool for food to help crack nuts and smash grains and whatnot. So we put them right in, and then we grab the pestle, and this is the fun part. You get to smash them up.
They're crackling.
This is especially helpful if you had an argument with your significant other the night before. Get a little aggression out, a little extra bonus. Now, I'm sorry if I snuck in a fun food fact, but it really wasn't a fun food fact. It was a fun food equipment fact. So I hope that was helpful. And look at that. Beautiful, rough grinded, roasted peppercorns, which will go great in this dish. Now, after you've ground your pepper, we need to add 2 tablespoons of butter to a medium hot skillet. You don't want the skillet too hot, as the butter will burn quickly. So we're going to let that start to simmer.
Now, if you prefer to use olive oil instead of butter, it's your choice. My mother always thought butter added more flavor, and I agree. But use whatever you like.
So once the butter is melted, we're going to add the peppercorns and let those start toasting. Give this a nice swirl. Now, we have to take some of this nice thick pasta water, add it into the skillet, because as you can see, there's not enough butter to keep it going. So we're going to let that simmer for a while, and that really is going to blend all those flavors just nicely. And you'll see later when we put the pasta in, it'll help finish cooking the pasta.
As that simmers, right, grate 1.5 cups of Pecorino Romano cheese.
I'm going to get going.
Now, freshly grated Pecorino Romano cheese is a must in this recipe. You notice David is using a microplane grater. That's because the cheese needs to be very finely grated so that it will melt smoothly and you won't have any of those big cheese chunks in your pasta.
Sometimes if a piece breaks off, don't be shy. Just pick it right back up and grate it right back in.
Good job, Dave.
There we go.
Here you go.
Now, most of the large graters that people have in their kitchen, one side that they do have on them is a very microplane. So it's not necessary to go out and get a special one like this. Most of the big square ones that you think of have a microplane on there. Now, I'm grating Pecorino Romano. Some recipes call for Reggiano Parmigiano or a blend of both cheeses. Why are we using only the single Pecorino Romano?
Well, David, it's simply a matter of taste. Both cheeses are aged, salty, and hard cheeses. However, for my taste and my mother's, Pecorino Romano is more flavorful. It's made from sheep's milk, which is much sharper and saltier. Parmesan is made from cow's milk, and it's a bit milder. I happen to like the strong flavor of pecorino in my pasta. For me, it's either go big or go home.
Well, since we're at home, I guess we're going big. And there you have beautiful, finely grated Pecorino Romano cheese.
Now, because Cacio Pepe is so creamy, a lot of people assume that you need to add cream. Don't do that. The creamy goodness comes from adding some of the starchy pasta water directly into the freshly grated cheese.
So here's what we're going to do. We're going to take some of this nice hot boiling water and we're going to add it directly into the cheese and mix it up into a nice paste. You can add the water slowly because you don't want it to be too watery. You want to make it into a nice thick paste, and look at that.
Now that's creamy. David, that looks perfect. Let me check the pasta.
All righty. How we doing?
Perfectly al dente.
All right.
Perfect.
When the pasta's done, what we're going to do is we're going to take some tongs and put the pasta directly into the skillet. You don't want to strain the pasta like you would do normally because we're still going to need the remainder of that water as the dish goes forward.
Now, once you add the pasta to the skillet, you want to reduce the heat and then add the cheese and sauce and the remaining butter.
All right, so let's get that done.
Now be careful. Fold all of the sauce onto the pasta. If the sauce is too thick, add some more pasta water.
Okay, let's put the butter in and let's start folding. Oh yeah. How's that looking, Dad?
Look at that. See all that great pepper?
Oh yeah. Okay. All right, so we're going to take one big tongful out of the pan. And like they serve it at my favorite restaurant in Rome, we're going to twirl it. And there it is, ready to eat.
There you have it. Filomena's Cacio e Pepe.
Now, if you want a
Maron.
you and your marons. If you want some heat, you can throw some red pepper flakes on it. A little bit of greens, get a little crunch. You can put some spinach, some kale right at the end, just as it's cooking down. And if you want to add some protein, of course, some bacon, some Italian sausage, some shrimp, salmon, all pair very well with this. But I think we did a good job just as is.
David, personally, I like it just the way it is, just the way you made it. So, until next time, be safe, be kind, and keep the faith. This too shall pass. I promise.